TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop, come on, baby, higher. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's that time of the week. And we got a big week ahead of us. It's Fight Night Fortunes with Mr. Lou Finocchiaro, live at the Sphere, Las Vegas, UFC 306, Noche. Dana has been pumping this thing up for a while. A big night for the Mexican fighters. 10 fights, I think, in all. This is bigger than, I don't want to say life, but this is a big, big event. And I couldn't be more excited, of course, to be talking to Lou about this event and, of course, the fight. So before I bring him on, I want to give a shout out to our proud sponsor and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, wherever you download the apps. It's free. And I promise myself, Travis, Zach, the rest of that team will take great, great care of you. Viva Tequila Salsa, CT Bets, the rest of that team. The East Coast is cuckoo for coconuts. Go try a Viva Tequila Salsa. And our new proud sponsor and partnerships, Atlanta Steak and Seafood. Head on over to Facebook. Follow Terry Smith. While you're there, follow Atlanta Steaks and Seafood. I promise you, the quality, just like Omaha, Lou knows about Omaha steaks, and we're always talking about them here. Their customer service second to none as well. So go on and join them as well. Tell them JD from ECSI sent you. Without further ado, the star of this show, Mr. Lou Finocchiaro.
Jeffrey, hello. Surely I am no star, but I do have a passion for the fights, and I love sharing them with you here on Thursday afternoon.
Well, we've been doing shows now for almost 3 months, and we were putting the cards together, a week off once in a while here, a week off here, and here we are. We blink, and we're at UFC 306, Noche. To all the people that aren't familiar what this event is all about, can you give us a little intro on what potentially to expect on Saturday?
Well, I know I can't tell you what to expect when the TV cameras go on and we start to look at the production that the UFC is going to deliver us, because that's really been guarded. The fighters have had some glimmer of that. I don't, but what I can tell you from what I know is, and I'm thrilled about this, because as a young man, I had a penchant for fights, and then I don't know how it happened that I went to the University of Arizona, but when I went to the U of A, there was a great culture of Mexican fighters. You're talking about Ruben Castillo and other local great fighters in the Southwest in Mexico that would fight in Tucson. Wide World of Sports would come. Howard Cosell would be there. And this would happen 2-3 times a year. And I would go to all of them live. And there, as a young Sicilian from Omaha, living now and going to college in Tucson, I got a taste of, and over now some 40 plus years being out of college, I have been indoctrinated into the culture of Mexican fighting, Mexican fighters, and the whole culture of the Mexican fighter. And it's a great, rich, steeped history, unbelievably proud, goes from boxing now into mixed martial arts. And the fact that the UFC decided to devote a night to the pride of the Mexican fighter, which is what I know this will be, is really delightful to me. I'm tickled about it. I am the biggest proponent of the Mexican fighter, and I can't wait to watch to see what we get to see with the production, because I can tell you, through 10 fights, there's 9 Mexican fighters. It's them against the world. We just don't have a Mexican fighter in the main event.
I grew up in boxing. I was that wide world of sports guy in the late 70s, early 80s. Every Saturday, I turned it on, listening to Howard Cosell. It seemed like once a month there would be a title fight there in the boxing ring. And you kind of stole my thunder there. I was going to ask you, when did the actual transition take place? I mean, we know the Mexican history in boxing. When did that transition, when UFC came on board, was it a quick transition, or did it take some time for some of them to move from boxing over, obviously, to the to the UFC, excuse me?
Yeah, it's been really relatively recent. And there's a direct proportion to where the UFC goes to put on productions to the growth in that area. And it's been in, the last 20 years that they've been really aggressive with that. And it's been in the last 10 that they've realized where the monsters are. And that's where they build UFC performance institutes. The first one went to China. Of course, they would address China, mixed martial arts, the great history there, etc. And then the next one on the screen, they had already cultivated Brazil, some of Europe, America, was clearly Mexico. And they understood what was there. And it's really the linchpin or the foundation of Mexican mixed martial artists is a young man named Brandon Moreno, who took the championship at the flyweight belt some 5 or 6 years ago. I happened to be at the fight that he won it at. It was here in Phoenix. And to be in Phoenix, to watch the young Mexican fighter win the first Mexican championship for the UFC in Phoenix, with all the Mexican fans there, was really a whole full circle for me, taking me back 20 some years. I was using my press pass. I was cage side, and I was treated to one of the greatest nights of all time.
Going back to last week, your Sneak Tea podcast with the winner with Ashmont plus 105. Just quickly going back to that gets you 16-9-2 plus 8.51 units, and an amazing record seeing that the favorites are 67.8% this year in the UFC.
Yeah, favorites are rolling, but between the Sneak Tea, my work with VSIN, if you get a subscription there, you'll get releases, and I don't make releases without keeping track as well. The Bout Business podcast, we're making money across all platforms. The Sneak Tea gives you an early look each week on Monday up to the upcoming fight card, and I always give a free release there. And so far, knock on wood, so good. We'll hope this week we work as well. We'll talk about it as we get into these fights.
You have 4 fights that you want to break down on this 10-fight card. I will do my best here. I'm live on DraftKings as we speak. And let me make sure here. The first fight, Edgar, is it Chairez versus Joshua Van?
Yes, Chairez.
Chairez. Currently right now, Van minus 238. Chairez plus 195 with an over now juiced at 195.
Yeah, over 2.5. And that's because these guys are 125 pounders. They'll have a large cage in the sphere. And this is going to be like watching 2 flies in a barrel fight. I mean, it's going to be tons of room. So you're probably going to get some time in the cage between these two, and you're going to get some beautiful visual effects, because this is probably going to decision. The key to this fight for me, Chairez, the Mexican fighter, is a typical Mexican fighter in that he don't know how to spell wrestling. Wrestling is not his game. This kid's a warrior, and he's going to come out there looking to throw down. He's going to stand there, he's going to kick you, and he's going to throw strikes and elbow you, and that's his strength. Van is younger. a little more experienced. And excuse me, he's not more experienced. Van is younger, and he's taken the UFC with a little bit more momentum, and he's more well-rounded without question. He's got good grappling wrestling. The issue with Van, he's only 22, and it was only about 2.5 years ago that he started his mixed martial arts career as an amateur. So in just 2.5 years, he's had a few amateur fights, a handful of pro fights, and here he is against this guy Chairez. And so we'll have to see Van execute wrestling for two reasons. The first is that's how you beat Chairez. The second is 2 months ago, Van was in a fight and he was brutally knocked out. I mean, cold as a fish on a dock. And so for him to be rushing back 2 months after getting KO'd, and now he's in against a striker fighting in front of his people on a Mexican Heritage Night is dubious. And I like Chairez a little bit here, even though he's a plus 190, plus 195 underdog. We're going to get his best effort, and I think Van could be being pushed too quick to take this fight.
Rules after getting KO'd in the UFC that there's so much time that they got to be out, or is that just all up to the doctors? Once they get the green flag, Dana can put them in at any spot?
It's all doctors. Dana can't use them unless the doctors clear them. Doctors have cleared them, so okay. Still, you got trainers and cornermen. They got to be out for your best interest. This kid's 22. He's had, in those 2.5 years, I bet he's had 18, 19 fights. He's jamming it all in real close together. I'm wary of it.
I'll keep my eyes on the dog there at plus 190 or 195 there. The next one I have up for you, let me just put it, Manuel Torres versus Ignacio Bahamondes.
Ignacio Bahamondes, he's from Chile. He's huge for 155 pounds, 6'3". And usually these kinds of guys that are so long and tall, they cut so massive amounts of weight because they're bullies. And they want to be the bigger guy and bully the other guy. They don't want to fight at their division he belongs in at 170. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't belong at 170, but I am saying I'll be watching this weight cut closely because he cuts tons of weight to be the bigger guy in the cage. And he's got some good experience, and he uses his reach well and has some good grappling. He's going to be fighting a Mexican kid. Now, this is going to be great because we got Chile versus Mexico in the sphere. That's just so Latino. I love it. The Mexican fighter, Manuel Torres, is an absolute killer finisher. And if he could be shot out of a cannon, he would, but it'll look like he's shot out of a cannon when the bell for the first round rings. Now, there's some question about Torres, and the questions revolve around, can he fight into the late second and third round? And the reason is because he's been able to starch or submit all of his opponents in the first round. This guy don't see second rounds. And this fight's lined 1.5 rounds. There's a hint right there. So to me, Torres has more ways to win. He's very aggressive, but if Bahamondes can use the big cage, keep Torres off of him, and play Forrest Gump and run in circles and take this fight to the middle of the second round, then all bets are off, and we'll have to monitor Torres's gas and ability to fight for a full 15 minutes against a guy that's been there. So a little edge for experience and craftiness for Bahamondes. But I'm not afraid to take the Mexican fighter fighting in front of his people, who's the more violent, well-rounded mixed martial artist. So we'll go with Torres there.
So anyone back in Bahamondes, then, by what you're saying, or how I would read this, if I was back in Bahamondes, which I'm not, I will be on the Torres train following you there. But you would then probably suggest that it probably would go over the 1.5 rounds, correct?
I think that's the only way the over and Bahamondes, I think, are correlated, no doubt.
The co-main event, Alexa Grasso, Valentina Shevchenko. I probably butchered that one too. Currently,
Grasso, that's fine. You're good.
Grasso currently minus 135. Valentina plus 114. over 4.5 at -220. Obviously, they think this fight's going to the cards, Lou.
Yeah, and this is their third fight. They've been to the first fight. Grasso submitted her. Shevchenko called it a fluke, wanted a second fight. Second fight, really, really, really close decision that was called a draw. Shevchenko's still whining about it. Now, look, Shevchenko now 36 and a half years old, and that's the foundation to this fight. When she was 31, 32, she was, in my opinion, pound for pound, the GOAT of women's mixed martial arts, and that includes Amanda Nunes. They fought together at 135, and Nunes won a very close decision that I don't think she won. I think Shevchenko won the fight. That said, I got nothing against Shevchenko, but in this matchup, in this fight, in a trilogy against a Mexican fighter fighting in front of her people with the whole Noche theme, we know we're going to get the absolute best effort out of all the Mexican fighters. Obviously, we'll get what we perceive as the best effort from their foes as well. But Shevchenko and Grasso's difference here is 31 years old and 37 years old. Grasso's younger, her boxing's slicker, she has way more power. Shevchenko's going to have to stay on the outside, use her kicks a little bit, and I'm not quite sure Shevchenko's going to absolutely go for broke here. I think Grasso, the younger fighter, the Mexican fighter, the current champ, is the right side here, and that's where we're going to go.
The main event, Mr. Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Merab, and I will allow you to pronunciate the last name there.
Dvalishvili. And this is for old guys like us, Jeff. This is Fraser Ali. You can't get more different styles. Dvalishvili's 5'6", sawed-off shotgun, got a nose pressed all over his face. He's a chain wrestling maniac. His nickname is The Machine, and it's appropriately named because all this dude does is like a rubber band. You take him off of your face and you let go, and he snaps back, and that's how he fights. He doesn't give you room to breathe. He's a chain wrestler. He takes you down over and over and over again, and eventually his foes get tired and can't handle the pressure. It's as simple as that. O'Malley, meanwhile, in the bigger cage, will have advantage because of the extra space. He's a long, tall, string bean of a guy, but he walks around at $165, $167. He fights at 135. So he'll rehydrate to a big guy. He's huge for the division, will tower over Dvalishvili, have reach over him. And in this fight, we will understand who's winning the fight by where the fight takes place. If it's on the feet, it'll be Sugar from outside, kicking and pecking and moving and forcing the bullfight. As Dvalishvili comes in to try and get his takedowns, O'Malley will be trying to stay out of the way and pepper him with 2 or 3 shots as he comes in. Meanwhile, on the Merab Dvalishvili side, he simply just has to be flypaper, get on O'Malley, force him to use all his energy defending wrestling for the first 10 or 15 minutes of this fight. If Merab can get this fight into the third round and into the middle of the third round and beyond, it's probable that his pressure will begin to wear on the longer, taller O'Malley, because we know Merab doesn't get tired, and O'Malley has before in fights. So there's the cat and mouse. Can Merab get in close, take him down, and take him deep? Or will O'Malley touch him as he's trying to come in early? I don't know the answer to that. I don't have a side or a total here. I can't wait to watch this fight, though, on Mexican Heritage Night between a Russian Georgian and an Irish kid from Phoenix.
I have to ask you this before we wrap it up here. We have done a bunch of shows together. We have gone to Denver with Altitude. We've gone to Manchester, England. We've gone down under to Australia, where the cards have been stacked for the hometown. Here now in Las Vegas, you're talking about 9 Mexican fighters and fights here. My question to you is, with those past performances in those other hometown crowds, this is going to be a big crowd here. I would say a lot of Mexican support. Would you blindly, for someone just watching, are you leaning towards the Mexican side as a whole when this whole event is over?
never will I throw a blanket and say I'm doing this or I'm not doing that. Okay, so I don't play that way. But we've talked about when they're in England, you got to know which English fighters might be getting set up favorably. And when they're in Perth, and the only way to do that is to know your fighters, to know what those setups may or may not be. Now, in the sphere, there's some favorable matchups. And those are, just by just by the elimination factor, you can see that some of these fights I didn't talk about, where you have a Mexican that is in a large favorite position like Zellhuber against Ribovics. That'll be a good fight, but I lean to Zellhuber there. So you got to know which ones they are. But to answer your question, Jeff, yes, I got to know which of the fighters are maybe in a favorable position. I also want to know which of these fighters are fluent, articulate, high intelligent people, because this is the first time all of them are going to be in a situation like this. They've never been in a stadium that has fans on one side, more fans on one side than they have ever fought before in a big stadium where the cage is in the middle. The video and the lights and the heat and everything else, all of that, if you got a first-time fighter, and there aren't any first-time fighters, but if you have a fighter that may be new to the big show, new to the lights, or is fighting a real veteran fighter that could get a little nervous with all the goings on, that isn't a bad angle too. And that's why I watched the fighter interviews yesterday to see who's the fluent, easy talking, intelligent fighters and who are the kids that come right off the street, because from the street to the from the street to the sphere could be a big move.
Well, Scroll has been going the whole time. Everyone here knows that they can go find you on Twitter at GamLou, catch you on VSiN Sports Grid, Monday afternoon Sneak Tea podcast, Fridays Bout Business podcast. But as we always finish, Lou, we give the octagon to you to tell everyone where they can find all your work and, of course, your website and podcasts.
Yeah, the UFC weigh-ins are Friday. They'll be from 9 to 11 because they're in Las Vegas. And so sometime around midday Pacific time, the Bout Business podcast will be out. You catch that at gamblou.com. Anything about me that you need to know can be accessed at gamblou.com. And people that have questions about bets or positions or anything, respectable, can just hit me up at lou@gamblou.com and I'll answer your email. Other than that, Jeff, I love being on. Love talking the fights. Thursday's a good day, and we'll look forward to catching up a couple weeks.
Yes, hopefully you are live at the Sphere on Saturday. We will grant you a week off next week since, of course, the UFC is off. And everyone, please go catch Lou at GamLou. Keep your eyes and ears open, of course, on VSiN and Sports Grid. Go check out his website. And again, the best part, if you have any questions, send him an email to lou@gamblou.com. I want to personally thank Elijah Cox. A great job as always behind the desk and glass. Lou, it's always been a pleasure. It will continue to be a pleasure. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the Sphere, my friend.
Thanks so much. Good luck, everybody. We'll talk in a couple weeks.
From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, to the one and only Lou Finocchiaro at GamLou, from Elijah Cox. ECSI will be back in exactly 1 hour with Ron Marmolevsky from Ron A Sports talking NFL and college football. Till then, we will see you soon.